politician. We should just have a politics show. We're so good at it.
We don't want that.
I think you should have the politics show and just have politicians, and that's it.
Why are you?
That genuinely sounds horrifying.
I'm kidding, because it's his worst. Yeah, it's his worst nightmare. But Mike Schlossberg, thank you for coming on. If you don't know, House of Representatives for the 132nd District, which is Lehigh County, Allentown,
mostly Allentown, a little chunk of South Whitehall too, about half, a little less than half of South Whitehall. Yeah.
What is the other half? Who's the other half of South?
That's a longer conversation about gerrymandering, but in a nutshell, my district looks kind of like a hat. I have the west end of Allentown, northern tier of the city, most of the east side, and 3/8 of South Whitehall. The remainder of South Whitehall is split up between myself, Ryan McKenzie, and Zach Mako. It's a mess.
Sorry. Yes. So I just had a phone call come in. I have to just text right back real quick.
You do you. Hey. I got you.
All right. So no, it's just interesting to me because you could have, one representative across the street, and it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense.
The way the lines are drawn really makes no sense. And, there's a larger conversation to be had about the way we draw lines, which on one hand sounds so like esoteric and unimportant, but on the other hand has a ton to do with the way policy is ultimately made. I mean, you've got people who will never lose a general election, who are much more scared of losing a primary, and that affects their votes. If we had a fair system of redistricting, something I definitely support, I think you'd get better public policy and a heck of a lot more compromise.
That's funny the way you say it. Like, we need to learn how to draw lines.
It's such a weird.
Well, when the lines like mean you can get more power, you know what I mean? You see it,
and they do.
Hey, that's not why we're here to talk.
I could go off on that, but no.
I know. You're on your way to Harrisburg in 30 minutes.
Yep.
What, I don't want to ask him, what are you doing today there? But what is going on? Like, when you go in today, what do you expect?
So the past 2.5 months have obviously been basically all COVID all the time. Everything else has been appropriately kind of thrown to the wayside. This week, we're primarily dealing with two things. So I'm a Democrat. Republicans control the legislature. We have a Democratic governor. At the beginning of this, there was a lot of compromise, people getting along, that sort of spun away, unfortunately. This week, we're going to be primarily dealing, again, with two things. First is a chunk of COVID-related bills. I think there are going to be some pieces of legislation that are looking at reopening sectors of the economy. Depending on the when and the where, prematurely in my mind, I voted no on a lot of these bills because they would take away the ability of the governor to tamp down on hotspots if and when they reoccur, and because it would also require reopening of large sections of the economy, even in the hottest areas of the state. So that's primarily why I voted no on these and will continue to do so. The big thing that we are apparently going to be voting on, I say apparently because I don't have a ton of information yet, is a stopgap budget. So for those of you who are lucky enough to not pay attention to Pennsylvania politics, we have to have a budget done by June 30th. Now, the budget this year has obviously been, shot to hell. Revenue estimates are down multiple billions of dollars. It's a huge problem in this state. The good news is that there may be federal aid coming to the state and localities, which we need. Otherwise, you're going to see cuts and or tax hikes, and neither of those are acceptable at this moment. The bad news is we're waiting. So my understanding is we're looking at passing like a stopgap budget that'll basically fund the state through 5 months. Maybe some items will get funded the entire year. I don't have a ton of information yet. Part of what we do when we run out to Harrisburg is meet as, Democrats caucus, and we hear from staff. Republicans do the same. We debate on the floor. And hopefully there's some sort of reasonable compromise that'll allow some budget to be passed, but also gives enough leeway for if and when federal aid arrives.
What's like the temperature of the room in there? Like,
hot right now. It's there. There's a degree. Yeah. No. And I know you don't mean physical. I mean, you mean like the.
Like
the I mean, it's always warm in there actually, but different story. No, it's hot. Like people, and again, we were starting to talk about this before. It really depends on who you're talking to. In my district, I've got Democrats who are, murderously angry at the current state of the government. And you've also got a ton of Republicans, especially Republican seniors, who are furious that the government isn't doing more. In an instance like this, and
when you say government, you mean state government?
I actually mean both.
Both.
Because I do get it. One of the most fascinating aspects of this is, and you could just go on my Facebook page right now and see it, no matter what happens, people are upset. Now, to be clear, that's fine. I'm an elected official. People can and should get upset with me. That's literally what I'm here for. But there's no winning right now. Like, when it comes to policy making in the middle of a pandemic, we are not making good decisions. We are just making decisions that are slightly less bad than the alternative.
Right.
And it all comes down to ultimately, should the government be doing more or less? I do hear a lot about the federal government. My response is, honestly, I can't control that one. I have a modicum of influence on the state government, and that's obviously where I'm trying to work. But there is a lot of disagreement right now. I am hopeful that because, we're now going to be moving into that yellow phase, a lot of areas of the state are moving into the green phase, that'll take some of the pressure off, and that ideally, things go well, people behave responsibly, and we can try to reopen the entire economy as quickly as safely possible.
Yeah. And when you say I kind of cut you off, but you meant, at the state level too, you have people on both sides of the aisle being critical and supportive of things that maybe people at home might not have expected, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody is correct me if I'm wrong, kind of going through this and just, like you said, trying to make the best decision in a bad time.
And that's absolutely true. And it's also one of the most fascinating parts of my job really has been seeing in person the regional differences. Like, okay, I represent about 85% of my district is the city of Allentown. We have north of 2,100 COVID positive cases. Now, that's not active. A good chunk have recovered, but the total number is north of 2,100 cases. So which is a rate on a per capita basis in Allentown. We have 4.5 times as many COVID positive cases as the rest of the state. That has obviously informed my thinking and made me much less reluctant to start widely reopening segments of the economy, and made me a lot more cautious because I am concerned, I think most people would agree, understandably concerned about the health and well-being of my constituents. Now, at the same time, I've got colleagues who represent rural Pennsylvania who are furious that things aren't happening fast enough. And if I were them, I'm sure I'd agree with them. We're all operating with our own constituencies in mind, as we should. Like, I get people who reach, you do get people who reach out to you from complete different sections of the state, and the response is always, guys, I don't mean this to be a jerk, but I represent Allentown and South Whitehall. I don't represent Fulton County.
Right.
You ever
and
look at
doing a disservice to your people. You'd be doing a disservice to your constituents if you thought otherwise.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You ever look at the Earth? I mean, Tyler loves these. You ever look at the Earth from above? Like if you're flying on a plane.
Where is this going?
Yeah. And you realize that all these borders are man-made for the most part. I mean, besides your rivers, that makes sense, and your mountain ranges. But these borders, like between counties, like I don't know when I'm in Carbon County. I guess I can. You hear the banjo, but for the most part, you don't. I'm kidding. I love Carbon County.
Don't get me into trouble, George.
But it's weird. Like it's so the virus. We're doing it county by county. The virus is like, I don't care. It's where people are. It's where populations are heavy. That's where things have to be tighter, right? And then where they're not, I'm just saying,
that's why. No, you're absolutely.
It's just
right,
like a weird concept that we're worried about. And I know we have to be because we live in them, and those are the laws. But it's just a weird concept that we're breaking them down by these imaginary county lines.
And that's why, to an extent, the governor's approach of like he's kind of approached this by regions. It's not exclusive. It shouldn't be exclusive. But you try to make judgments based on regions. Lehigh Valley is in the northeastern region. Our numbers have roughly track with certain other areas. The most devastated parts of the state have obviously been the southeast, which, the southeast and the northeast, with a particular emphasis on the southeast. Density and proximity to New Jersey are killing us. Jersey and New York are the 1 and 2 states in the country, and that's why the eastern part of the state has got whacked. Typically speaking, areas that have higher levels of poverty and higher levels of population density and higher levels of racial minorities have gotten hit the hardest. And then, of course, that also doesn't touch the obvious issue, which is long-term care facilities and nursing homes. I mean, that's where the bulk of the cases and the bulk of the deaths have been, and that's where we need to be applying the bulk of our efforts.
Yeah. I will say this, before you, George, I don't know if Anderson Cooper isn't wearing pajama pants during an interview. George clearly walked up, total disregard of the interview. shows his pajama pants. So that's
No,
where
no.
George is at, Mike.
It's funny
Okay?
because Tyler, the way that the Zoom works is I can decide who's on screen. So like when I can have Mike, and it won't look different for you. So at that period of time that I got up with my pajama pants, no one could see me, but now everybody knows.
But the person we're interviewing saw. So
Look what I'm
let's
he
just
doesn't
kinda-
care.
I actually
Look what I'm
have the
wearing though
gallery
today.
view on. It is.
It's my Super Bowl pants with my Super Bowl shirt. Didn't even plan it. Just pulled them up.
Honestly, it's really impressive. It's very attractive. You look by, and other way, you look every bit as fuzzy as me. I mean, this is just.
What's the point of shaving? Well, for you, you have to go represent people. Like I'm sitting here and barely go outside.
The thing, and it's related to the job, as we talk about shaving, the thing that I've gotten, that I've enjoyed doing the most and that I found to be most effective, like, okay, so legislating in Harrisburg is frustrating. There's only so much you could do. We are trying to make sure that we're bringing state resources home and that we're communicating with nonprofits, with our health centers, and with our constituents. So I've done every morning at 9:45 or so, 6 days a week, I do a Facebook Live video where, my staff helps me prep together a bunch of notes on things that are relevant today. We're talking about elections, the census, programs, testing. We always give the latest testing numbers and then answer questions. And I joke, I've appreciated it for many reasons, not the least of which is it does force me to actually shave and do what I can with the Jufro that I got. I just can't win with it. There's nothing you can do. But I've appreciated that because it gives me a chance to actually still interact with constituents and address questions. And it's something that I hope my constituents find value out of. So it's been fun for me.
What are some questions that you're getting, especially maybe some critical questions that are critical of what's going on? It's
happened. Critical questions have happened from time to time. Typically the most critical things relate to votes, or broadly speaking, what the governor is doing. And that criticism is unquestionably accelerated as time has gone on and we've put up more votes. I would say the criticism can broadly be tracked into three different categories. First is the governor is a dictator. He loves his emergency powers and he's trying intentionally to keep us in our homes, which I'm sure that the governor clearly, he's excited about this. Okay, whatever works. Again, I'm never going to object to somebody being critical. I just think the idea that there's some massive conspiracy to keep people in their homes is, to say it's far-fetched is an understatement, especially when the proof now is clear. There's other counties that are in the green zone, which is basically, okay, bye, with some restrictions still on massive physical gatherings, but by and large, green zone counties are good to go. In the new normal, which is an entirely different story. Criticism of specific votes that I've taken. I've voted against reopening large sectors of the economy for reasons I stated before. No shortage of criticism about that. Fine, I'm happy. I am always happy to answer any criticism that people give as best I can. And three is the nursing home issue. When the books on COVID are written and all is said and done, I think the biggest failing in large segments of the United States is going to be nursing homes and long-term care facilities, and why more wasn't done faster. And that's a question that we're going to have to be able to answer when this is all said and done. No doubt about it. I will add that I've never been shy about it. I mean, broadly speaking, I support the actions the governor took. A study came out from Drexel University the other day that said that the shutdown saved 6,200 lives in Philadelphia alone. We're probably talking about hundreds of lives in Lehigh County. Dozens, if not hundreds, of my constituents. In my mind, those were votes worth taking. And if there's a political price, so be it. I just think it was the right thing.
Okay. So would you say, somewhere, this is the issue I have, and I don't know what the answer is. Maybe you don't have it. You go, I can go to Target or Walmart or Home Depot.
I get this one a lot.
I can stand in line next to someone for hours on end. I mean, not hours, let's be honest, 30 minutes, but an extended period of time. But I can't go to the restaurant or my barber where it's just myself and him in a chair. That is hypocrisy. Yes. I mean, it just seems really, it is hurt. So I can understand why that barber is up in arms. You know what I mean? I get that. So what's the answer to that?
Here, and again, I come back to what I said before. There is no good answer. There is absolutely no good answer. Targets, Walmarts, grocery stores are all open. because they have life essential things. Like I've been doing the majority of my grocery shopping at Target. People are doing it at Giant or Walmart and whatnot. The problem becomes that the way that the system was set up does unfairly disadvantage certain businesses. I have appliance stores in my district, and I've had multiple people tell me, why can I go to Home Depot and buy an oven, but I can't buy it here? And there's no doubt that that's the biggest problem. Now, you can make the argument that these big box stores we should do one of two things. First, either shut down all the segments of the big box stores or open up smaller stores. My argument that I've been making for the past few weeks is I get why you don't necessarily want to bring people into stores who aren't selling things that are life essential, but we've got to make it easier. We've got to open up curbside delivery. I signed a letter to the governor. It was joined by like 90 some odd of my Democratic colleagues saying, all right, we get it, but let's talk about curbside delivery or curbside service. Like that's an area we should be in right now. And again, that's one of my challenges.
Like it was, I don't mean to cut you off, but just to that point, it was terribly inconvenient. I had to go online. I bought a kayak curbside delivery from Dick's. I wanted a kayak, I could have waited and whatever. I decided I wanted one.
Inconvenient, George, that doesn't sound inconvenient at all.
It isn't. I said it's inconvenient in the sense that I had to
go in.
Do it online. I didn't get to go in and pick. I made it, but I'm making fun of people who are going to complain about things like this.
Right,
like,
okay.
You do at least, they're not making all the revenue they could, but I bought a kayak. I could, Ackroyd Hardware, if they're not open, down the street from me, should be open. I should be able to go buy a shovel there. I don't know why I need a shovel. Like something more appropriate.
Well, but no, like that's, and it's not, in that instance, it's not a matter of you needing a shovel. It's a matter of let's do what we can to allow businesses to operate. I am completely okay having that conversation. The big box stores do need to be open. I make zero apologies for that because they sell groceries, because they sell other supplies that are unquestionably life essential. I get why Home Depot's open. If somebody has a roof that's, leaking, I would definitely make the argument that that's life essential and somebody needs to be able to come in and fix it. But I think that there's more we could have done, and I've been saying this for a few weeks now, to even the playing field for small businesses. Fundamentally, I come back to this. There's no good answer. I don't have a good ideal answer because I certainly don't dispute the governor and Dr. Levine's logic that we want to keep as many people home as much as humanly possible. It all makes perfect sense. But I think, especially now that things are slowing down, there's better ways that we could allow businesses to operate.
Yeah. It just seems to me like there's a sense of, and I'm not saying this is you or anyone, but it's a sense of, everything's closed, so the adults are allowed to stay open. Walmart and Home Depot can continue to make all the money. You kids, you're not good enough to open your small business that sells the same things I do. I can see the resentment from people who I'm personal friends with who have that. And again, you're right. It's like, so do we not open Home Depot then? And you can't get. I get it. I get that.
You can't go into large segments of Home Depot, which will unquestionably impact even more employees. But like, there's no, everything that we do has countless ripple effects in other areas of the economy. I think, if we were starting this all over again, I think that that's something that we could do safely. But again, it's also easy to Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah,
it really is. Let's keep in mind, when this thing first started, we were looking at that horrifying exponential growth. Every day at noon, when the new numbers would come out, we were talking about 50% increases, 33% increases. It's really easy. My favorite internet meme of all these is people who, we should reopen right now. Okay, when you're skydiving and you open your parachute and you're, still thousands of feet above the ground, you're not going to go, wow, I slowed down. Rip, wee. We're not home yet. We're not there yet. And I'm okay with doing phased in reopenings, slowly starting to get the economy up and running. In areas that have gone yellow, there've been a couple of little spikes in Erie and Allegheny County. That's something we need to keep an eye on. But, so far the experience has been positive. It's easy to criticize people who aren't wearing masks in public, but I think the good news is that most people are behaving responsibly. And that's good because look, my biggest fear about this isn't now. It's the fall. It's what happens if there's a second wave. And, historically speaking, there's waves number 2 of big pandemics. Like you look at the Spanish flu, it was in the second wave that more people died, not the first one. So that's kind of
and that is
what
scary,
I'm bracing myself
that's
for.
Going back to school. That's first semester of
My
college.
9-year-old and my 7-year-old are running around right now. I love them to death. I want them back in school. My wife, who is a teacher at Harrison Morton in Allentown,
it's not like I'm bored. Yeah, it's not like you're like, I hate being around my kids. It's just like school is somewhere you should be. It's a good place to learn things.
I have said to them, my line to them when this first started was, I want you guys to remember this because you are living in an extraordinary moment that basically nobody alive has ever lived in. I mean, we're going to be okay, but this is going to be one of these days your kids and your grandkids are going to interview about your experiences. Grandpa, what was it like in the middle of COVID? It's from that perspective, it's just so fascinating.
That is weird.
I've been so impressed with the resilience of my kids. That's what I like. They have found a way to have fun despite being locked in the house for 2.5 months.
Yeah, my kid's kind of not unaffected, but she's having a good time.
Your kid's young, right? Very young.
She will be 4 in July. 4.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's hard to explain to a 4-year-old, don't touch that. No, don't go near grandpa. Like my parents live in Whitehall.
We saw my dad from a little bit of a distance yesterday, and
we have porch dates with my parents. Hello, grandma. Give them air hugs. It's so strange, but we've got to keep it. This is our new normal for the foreseeable future, and that's also why I think we need to be able to adjust and try to minimize the economic damage as we go forward with this.
Mike, I know your job right now is pretty stressful, but I really feel bad for your wife. She's a teacher at home. She's basically homeschooling, right? Is that her duty?
She is so frustrated because, and look, there's no win. The Allentown School District are doing everything they can, and I will add that in Allentown, our challenge is particularly acute. 90% of the kids in the Allentown School District live in some degree of poverty. 100% of the kids qualify for free lunch because of the way the federal program is made. The digital divide is massive. The biggest thing that I have talked about long before COVID is the Allentown School District. That is my biggest concern because the kids that attend our schools don't get the same quality of education or resources as their wealthier suburban counterparts. So to watch my wife struggle with kids who have shoddy internet access, lack of access to devices,
no internet access.
Well, no internet access has been a huge problem. It's a struggle, and there's kids in the Allentown School District who just went and aren't getting anything right now, and those kids are being hurt so badly. And that's COVID has really ripped the Band-Aid off of a lot of the traditional gaps that we have in society between the haves and the have-nots. How easy was it for so many people to adjust to this universe? To go on unemployment, to be able to live for a few months without any regular source of income, and how many of my constituents live paycheck to paycheck and called me saying, I am out of money, help me get through to unemployment. I mean, my life has been unemployment. Getting back to my wife for a second, her job, her and the rest of the teachers across the nation really have had to adapt to an extraordinary moment. And they're doing a great job as best I can tell.
Yeah. For sure. No, yeah, big thanks to all these teachers everywhere. I mean, it's a nightmare. And it's not over. It's not over. This is gonna continue in. So, Mike, we know that you're busy and you're gonna get on the road here.
Yep. Got my button down. I haven't worn a button down in a while.
Do you wear the tie and then do you put the tie on before you leave, or do you have the tie and then put it on when you get there?
I have the tie. I wear it only when legally required to do so. I'm not a tie fan. But you do have to wear a tie on the floor, incidentally.
I was talking with my comedian friend about ties and how, where did that come from? Where did that all...
It's like 17th century. I read it somewhere. It's like it was like a part of dress, and then it got shorter and shorter. I don't know.
Interesting thing related to ties and COVID, and yes, I actually went there. Governor Northam in Virginia is the only governor who's actually a medical doctor right now. He read a study that showed how doctors shouldn't be wearing ties because bacteria and germs leach onto them. He banned ties in his office for the duration of COVID, and you will never see him in a tie during this thing.
It's funny. I read that beards are the same thing. Beards are whatevs.
Well,
no, I don't mean it that way. I'm just saying I'm not around anybody, so
that's why George wears pajamas, because he thinks that's the proper dress code for COVID.
It is actually. I should make COVID pajamas. This is very comfortable material. It's like that.
It is.
It's that heather gray, like that two-ply. Yep. I don't know what it is.
I know what you mean.
Mike, thank you so much. No, this has been pleasure. Honestly, thank you. And you say again, when do you go on Facebook Live? When do you have your?
I am going in 20 minutes. I do a 9:40, 9:45. You can go to facebook.com/Rep Schlossberg. Anybody has any questions, you can send them there. To be perfectly honest, we don't see all the comments. Sometimes there's too many going on. Anybody wants to email me, they can do so at mschloss, SCHLOSS, at pahouse.net. You can also call my office, 610-821-5577. We are open, but obviously operating remotely, so we will get back to you as soon as possible.
So this won't be up before this live stream. We'll have it up. I'm curious. I want to watch it and see how many viewers you have. Tyler, you should watch to see if it beats us, because we're always like, we have 5 viewers on the stream tonight.
It gets up there, actually. I've been pleasantly surprised. Our all-time high, because I'll go through notes and then answer questions, and sometimes there's no questions. Sometimes and again, you could go on my Facebook feed and just have the time of your life. I have a troll army of people who, some of them live in my district, most of whom don't. If
does that get under your skin? Because even I sometimes am like,
it did it first. At this point, I've kind of gotten used to it. Like, I've got multiple people who regularly call me a Nazi, and I'm Jewish and the grandson of Holocaust survivors. And I think that I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, this says more about you than it does about me. If somebody asks a legitimate question, critical, yelling at me, we answer it. But if it's like, one of a group of like 10 or so trolls, it's like, okay, I'll get right on your question.
Yeah.
I'm happy to address criticism, but I'm not engaging.
No, I make fun. It's just that we do the After Dark thing, and it is it does really well. I'm making fun of Tyler. It's good. And it's fun to see these shows pop up, like even yours. You're putting on, for all intents and purposes, a television show.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing
produced in
that
Schlossberg Television Studios.
You should watch ours. It's produced by me, and it's like horrible when I produce it.
My wife holds the camera and reads me the questions. We refer to my wife as the glorified tripod or the self-aware tripod.
I have so many windows open. Everyone's like, put this on screen. I put up like the wrong thing every time. I'm not getting any better at it either.
Always. So anyway, let me know if you need anything else, but thanks for the opportunity. This was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. See ya.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.
Bye.